You were my best friend. You knew everything about me, my favorite coffee order, my childhood fears, my dreams for the future. You knew my family drama, my work stress, my insecurities about my body. Except, you knew nothing at all. While you thought you were my closest confidant, I was living an entire life you never saw. A life I could never tell you about. A life that made everything between us complicated. I'm going to show you the 7 ways I lived a double life while calling you my best friend. 7 truths about the person I really was when you weren't looking. By the end of this, you'll understand why some women keep their best friends in the light while living their real lives in the shadows. Way number 1. I shared my thoughts with you, but never my truth. Every day I told you what was on my mind. But I never told you what was in my heart. I'd complain about my job, my family, my dating life, all surface-level frustrations that felt safe to share. But the real thoughts? The ones that kept me awake at 3 a.m.? The ones that made me question everything I thought I knew about myself? Those stayed locked away. Week 3. I tell you I'm tired of dating apps because all the guys are the same. What I don't tell you is that I'm tired of forcing myself to feel something I don't feel. My chest tightens every time I swipe through profiles. Month 2. I vent about my complicated relationship with my parents. What I don't mention is that their expectations feel suffocating because I'm living a life they could never understand. Month 3. I complain that I feel disconnected from everyone. What I can't say is that the disconnection comes from hiding who I really am from the people closest to me. I wake up exhausted every morning from the effort of pretending. Psychology calls this emotional compartmentalization, sharing enough truth to feel close without sharing the truth that matters most. I needed you to know me, but I needed you to know the version of me that was acceptable. The real me felt too dangerous to reveal, too complicated to explain, too different from what you expected. So I gave you my thoughts about safe topics and kept my deeper truths buried. If you're watching this because you've been someone's confidant but sensed they were holding something back, hit that subscribe button, because what I reveal next will show you the deeper layers of what we keep hidden. But here's what made it even more complicated. Way number 2. I told you about my dates, but never about my real feelings. You heard about every coffee date, every dinner, every disappointing text exchange with men from dating apps. I made you my relationship advisor, my dating coach, my shoulder to cry on when things didn't work out. But I never told you why nothing was working out. Month 4. I tell you about another failed first date. He was nice, but there was no spark. What I don't tell you is that I've never felt that spark everyone talks about. My palms sweat whenever you ask for details about my feelings. Month 5. I ask for your advice about a guy who keeps texting me. I pretend I'm confused about what I want. Really, I know exactly what I don't want, but I can't explain why. Month 6. I cry to you about being single and wondering if I'll ever find love. You comfort me and tell me I'll find the right person. I nod and agree. But inside I'm wondering if the right person even exists in the world you think I live in. This is what psychology calls narrative displacement. Using one story to process feelings about another story you can't tell. I wasn't really asking for dating advice. I was processing my confusion about attraction, desire, and identity. But I couldn't say that without revealing everything I was trying to hide. So I let you think my problem was finding the right man, when my real problem was understanding myself. But the emotional distance went even deeper. Way number 3. I was vulnerable with you, but only on the surface. I cried in front of you. I shared my fears. I told you about my anxiety and my insecurities, but I only shared the vulnerabilities that didn't threaten my secret. I could tell you I was afraid of not being good enough, but I couldn't tell you I was afraid of being exactly who I was. I could tell you I felt misunderstood, but I couldn't tell you why. Month 7. I have a panic attack about my future and you hold me while I cry. I tell you I'm scared I'll never figure out my life. What I mean is I'm scared I'll never be brave enough to live my real life. My heart pounds for hours afterward. Month 8. I tell you I feel like I'm living someone else's life. You think I'm talking about career or family pressure. I'm talking about something much deeper. Month 9. I confess that I feel like I'm pretending to be someone I'm not. You reassure me that everyone feels that way sometimes. But for me, it's not sometimes. It's every single day. I have to excuse myself to the bathroom to stop myself from crying. Psychology calls this selective vulnerability, sharing emotional pain without sharing its true source. My vulnerabilities were real, my tears were genuine, my fears were valid, but they were symptoms of a deeper truth I couldn't name. I was vulnerable about the effects of living a double life, without admitting I was living one. My chest tightens every time I remember how you comforted me through pain I couldn't fully explain. But here's where it gets even more complex.
Way number 4. I trusted you with my fears, but never with my desires. You knew everything I was afraid of. Rejection, abandonment, not being loved. But you knew nothing about what I actually wanted. What made my heart race? What kept me dreaming? Because my desires didn't fit the person you thought I was. Month 10. I tell you I'm afraid I'll never feel passionate about anything. You encourage me to try new hobbies. What I can't say is that I do feel passion. Just not for anything you'd expect. Month 11. I mention feeling envious of people who seem to know what they want. You think I'm talking about career goals. I'm talking about having the courage to want what I want without shame. My stomach knots every time we have these conversations. Month 12. I say I feel like I'm sleepwalking through life. You suggest therapy or meditation. What I need is permission to wake up as myself.
This is what psychology calls desire suppression. Hiding authentic wants to maintain a false identity. I could share my fears because fears are universal. Everyone understands being afraid. But desires? Desires reveal who we really are. And I wasn't ready for you to see that person yet. My desires felt too big, too different, too threatening to the friendship we'd built on a foundation of half-truths. So I shared my emptiness, but never what could fill it. But the hardest part was how I used our friendship.
Way number 5. I let you be my support system while I lived somewhere else entirely. You were my emotional anchor, my constant, my safe harbor, while I explored a life you knew nothing about. I'd disappear for days and then come back to you with vague explanations. Work stress, family stuff, just needed space. But really, I was living moments of my authentic life and then retreating back to the safety of our friendship. Month 13. I cancel our weekend plans last minute because I have a family emergency. Really? I'm spending the weekend with someone who makes me feel like myself for the first time in years. My stomach churns with guilt the entire time. Month 14. I'm distant and distracted during our coffee dates because I'm processing feelings I can't share with you. When you ask what's wrong, I blame work stress. You believe me because you want to help. Month 15. I start therapy but tell you it's for general anxiety. Really? I'm trying to understand how to integrate the two versions of myself. I cry for an hour after every session. Psychology calls this emotional split. Using different relationships to meet different needs while keeping them separate. You were my stability while I figured out my truth. You were my home base while I explored territories you couldn't imagine. And I justified it by telling myself I was protecting you from confusion or pain. But really, I was protecting myself from the possibility of losing you. Write me in the comments if you've ever felt like someone was holding back their real self from you. Watch my video, The Exact Reason She Put You in the Friend Zone, to understand why women compartmentalize their emotional lives. Because what I'm about to reveal shows the deepest layer of this double life. And here's where the guilt became unbearable. Way number 6. I needed your stability to hide my chaos. While you saw me as put together and reliable, I was falling apart in spaces you never saw. I used our predictable friendship as cover for the unpredictable journey I was on. Your consistent love gave me a sense of normalcy while everything else in my inner world was shifting. Month 25. I show up to your birthday party acting normal, while I'm having an identity crisis. I smile and laugh and play the role of your stable best friend, while my entire sense of self is crumbling. Month 27. I help you through your breakup while I'm secretly processing the end of something you never knew existed. I give you advice about love while questioning everything I thought I knew about my own capacity for it. Month 29. I'm your +1 to your cousin's wedding. I watch you cry during the ceremony and hold your hand, all while wondering if I'll ever have the courage to live openly enough to invite you to witness my real life. This is what psychology calls emotional masking. Maintaining a false persona to preserve relationships while authentic self develops elsewhere. I wasn't lying to hurt you. I was lying to survive. Your friendship was my lifeline while I figured out how to breathe underwater. But the weight of maintaining two selves was crushing me. Every smile felt forced. Every casual conversation felt like performance. Every moment of normalcy felt like betrayal of who I was becoming. I can't sleep for weeks during this time, exhausted from being two different people. And here's the truth that broke my heart.
Way number 7. I loved you as my friend because I couldn't love myself as I was. Our friendship was built on you loving a version of me that felt safe to show you. But I was becoming someone completely different, someone you'd never met, and I was terrified that if you knew who I really was, you wouldn't love me anymore. Month 30. I realize I've been using our friendship as proof that I'm lovable while hiding the parts of me I'm not sure are acceptable. Month 32. I want to tell you everything, but I'm paralyzed by the fear that the truth will destroy the only stable relationship in my life. Month 34. I finally understand that I can't truly love myself until I stop hiding from the people who claim to love me. But understanding and acting are two different things. Psychology calls this conditional self-worth. Believing you're only lovable when you hide your authentic self. I kept you close because your love felt unconditional. But it was only unconditional for the person you thought I was. The real test would be whether you could love the person I actually am. And I wasn't brave enough to find out, so I chose the safety of your love for my partial self over the risk of your potential rejection of my whole self. I lived in two worlds because living in one felt too dangerous. My throat feels tight even now, remembering how alone I felt while being surrounded by people who loved the me they knew. And here's what I wish I could have told you. The double life wasn't about not trusting you. It was about not trusting that I was worthy of love as my complete self. You were my best friend. You knew me better than anyone. And that's exactly why I couldn't tell you the truth, because losing you would have meant losing the only person who loved me, even if they loved an incomplete version. Here's what I wish I could have said. I'm not the person you think I am. I'm not even the person I thought I was. But I need you to love me through figuring out who I really am. Some women live double lives not because we're deceptive, but because we're terrified. Terrified that our authentic selves won't be acceptable. Terrified that the people who love us will stop when they see all of us. Do I regret keeping you in the dark? Every single day. Do I understand why I did it? Finally, yes. Do I think you would have loved the real me? That's a question I'll never know the answer to. If you're currently loving someone who feels distant despite being close, maybe they're not hiding from you. Maybe they're hiding from themselves. And maybe the greatest gift you could give them is the safety to be authentic without the fear of losing your love. If you want to understand more about why women like me compartmentalize our lives, watch my video, She Says You Are Her Best Friend, but Still Needs Your Energy. That video will show you the psychology behind why we keep even our closest friends at emotional arm's length.